and welcome. You are watching BTS, that's behind the scenes with me, Sakshi Batra on Business Today TV. And this is a show where we share a sneak peek of the latest issue of the Business Today magazine with all our viewers. Now, joining in to discuss what can we really expect from this latest edition. With me joining in is Mr. Anand Adhikari, Managing Editor, Business Today magazine. Also joining in is Krishna Gopalan, the executive editor at Business Today magazine. And joining in is my colleague Prerna Lidhoo as well. Welcome to all of you, and thank you so much for taking the time out for this discussion. And now to showcase the first glimpse of this magazine. Wonderful cover right there. On the cover, you have the top management of the Mahindra Group and M&M. The cover story focuses on how the auto major is witnessing rejuvenation of the business, and Prerna has wonderfully put this cover story this time around and packaged the entire auto stories in this issue. So let me kickstart this discussion with you, Prerna. So, in the cover story on Mahindra and Mahindra Group's auto business, you do talk about the company's transformation journey. Help our viewers really understand what do you think was the key moment in the company's turnaround?
Yeah, thank you, Sakshi, for having me and for your question. So, I think right after Anish Shah, the MD and CEO of the company, joined in 2021, the company went ahead with the change of the logo, a new identity for its auto business. It's a huge deal for a company which has a 77-year-old history like Mahindra and Mahindra and the group, and for the chieftain Anand Mahindra, it's a huge deal to change a logo just for the auto entity. So I think that was like a key defining moment for the company. It did two things. It obviously told the audience, the car enthusiasts, and everybody in the industry, even the competitors. It told them that yes, Mahindra is now serious for its auto and SUV business transformation, and it instantly positioned Mahindra as a premium player in the market. Because as you recall, it was a time when who's who of the global world, of the automotive world globally, like Kia and MG Motor were sort of entering the Indian market, and it was the time for the premium players to make a mark. So I think Mahindra caught on to it, and that is when it sort of redefined its SUV business, which is also translated into numbers. Because when we speak of turnaround, we
Sure.
obviously see it in the numbers as well. So the company's market share is in the SUV business has jumped from 13% to 19% in just last 2 years when the new management took over and the entire churn in the auto business happened. And by the way, the company has had a history with SUVs, and it's not like this is the first time that they're trying out with SUVs. It had a peak of 53% in FY12. So that was obviously a downfall from there, and now it's sort of recovering that market back. So I think another thing that has worked really well for the company is sort of it positioning itself as a house of brands rather than a company that has different models. For example, Thar, Bolero, XUV, and Scorpio are four different brands within the company. We do not see it as Mahindra Scorpio or Mahindra Bolero because they've made it a point to market them as separate brands or separate categories and sort of focus into the SUV segment with a much reignited approach.
Absolutely. And this is what I was coming to. You also spoke to Anish Shah, the group MD and CEO, for the exclusive interview for this edition. What do you think is the broader plan that he has for the group now?
Yes, actually. So my colleague Krishna and I, we actually sat with with Dr. Anisha, and we sort of got a sneak peek into how he thinks, how the man plans to lead, not just for the auto business and the overall group level. So I found that the guy has
Yeah.
an extremely sharp vision when it comes to the financial discipline, because that is what he felt lacked in the company in the last few years. So that is something that he's trying to reinstate into the company, into the different divisions and segments. So the first thing that he did was to divide the company into
Yeah.
core and non-core businesses, the growth gems as he likes to call it. So his aim, like we understood, was to develop these core businesses, which is auto, farm, finance, and tech M, and then develop these growth gems which have a potential to reach $1 billion in the next few years. In fact, some of them are even going for listing, and they're preparing for IPO like Sustain, etc. So these include like Mahindra Life Spaces, Club Mahindra. So these are basically different divisions that did not speak to each other earlier. So Anish Shah is sort of making sure that there's more synergy within the group, and how the group can leverage each other's strengths and everything. His another very important point that I sort of took away from the interview, that he said that we do very few things. We want to do focus things, but we want to do it well. We do very few things, but we do it well. So that was something that I like was a takeaway for me. Another very important thing, him being an outsider of the group, he's not like a Mahindra insider, so to say. It's just been a decade for him. He wants to nurture ingrown talent from Mahindra. So he actually said that 90% of the new hires in the leadership position will be from the within the companies.
Very exciting, I'm sure, and very, very interesting for all the auto enthusiasts out there to really read what follows next for M&M as an auto company going forward from here. But another story in the auto package, which you've done, is how premium two-wheeler players are now taking on the market leader Royal Enfield. This made a lot of headlines over the last week. We did see stock prices reacting to the launches, which are in competition to Royal Enfield as well. So, it seems like the space is heating up as well. What can you tell us about the battle that is brewing?
Yeah, so the month of July was actually like a pretty busy time for auto journalists, if I can put it that way. Within just one week, there were two contenders to Royal Enfield that stood up. One was Hero in collaboration with Harley Davidson, and one was Bajaj that launched Triumph. And it was a really aggressive week, like for all auto enthusiasts. We could see that, like in the premium segment, which was above 150cc, where Royal Enfield holds more than 50%. If you look at above 350cc, Royal Enfield holds more than 80%, in fact. So this is the kind of aggression that these guys are coming up with when it comes to taking over the reign of Royal Enfield, if we can call it. In fact, Rajiv Bajaj, at the launch of the Triumph Scramble 400X bike, he said that there's an American robber, and when he was asked that why do you rob, why do you steal, and then he said that's the bank is where the money is. So he compared Royal Enfield to a bank, said that if Royal Enfield is where the money is, we are going to go after that segment. That shows how aggressive competition has become in the premium segment. That's also because the entry level and the commuter segment, which is 76cc to 150cc roughly, that has sort of seen a downfall. The affordable segment has seen a downfall post the pandemic. So I think premium segment is where all the eyes are. And even Dr. Paman Munjal, who I had the opportunity to meet in Jaipur, also said that we are really well positioned to sort of position Hero as in the premium segment, as well as sell Harley Davidson bikes. So they have sort of like a two-pronged strategy to look at the segment. So I think this segment is really heating up also because it's a lifestyle segment. You're not just selling a bike, you're selling a lifestyle. So if you look at Honda, Harley Davidson, Hero Triumph, KTM, they're all selling the lifestyle. That's why they have these biker rides, biker events. Even the Hero Harley event that we attended in Jaipur, it did not seem like a bike launch at all. It looked like a American music concert. I could see that there's the sense of liveliness, the sense of enthusiasm at the launch. So that is how the segment is heating up and going forward. And I think for experts say that in the long term, the Royal Enfield does not have too much to worry about because it has a stronghold in the segment, but the competition will try, as they say.
Absolutely. Well, thanks a lot for all of those, insights, Prerna. A lot to read in the auto space in this edition for sure. And while you were talking, I heard our in-house banking expert nod while you were sharing those anecdotes with the banks as well. So, Anand, let me come to you now, and let's talk about what's really happening in the banking space now. While there is a battle outside in the auto space, something is not right when it comes to the regulatory actions, reforms that have taken place in the banking space, and we're dealing with, IBC, the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code of India. Now, once hailed as a landmark reform that brought sweeping changes to the entire banking industry in India. is now dealing with some of the issues. So help our viewers understand what all is wrong right now with this 7-year-old game-changing, IBC reform.
Thank you, Sakshi. Let's look at the last, 7-year, track record. Currently there are some 6,500 companies, admitted to, IBC, and the total dues, were around, 9 lakh crore. And just to give you perspective, 9 lakh crore is around 6 to 7% of the entire banking credit. Or in other way, let's look at the capex of the entire 23-24 of the central government is around 10 lakh. So this is the kind of amount, Sakshi, we are talking about. 9 lakh crore, stuck in IBC in the last 7-year period. So let's look at, the cases resolved. Now, if you look at the cases resolved, it's just 10%. So 90% cases out of like 6,500 plus, which I talked about, are still languishing in, various NCLT, courts. And if you look at the recovery, I'm saying the average recovery in the last 7 years is just 32%. And in another way, so 68% is the haircut taken by banks in the last 7 years. So what's wrong? Like you asked, so one is the capacity issue. We have only 16, NCLT, courts, and these courts, apart from the bankruptcy cases, they're also dealing with, the M&A cases, the competition commission. So there's a lot of load of non-IBC cases with these, 16, NCLT. And other thing, I just want to highlight here, there are a lot of conflicting, judgment from the Supreme Court, different interpretation. So there, which we have mentioned in our story also, there are three such judgment. I just want to talk about one judgment about, Vidarbha, company versus the Axis Bank. Now there, the Supreme Court said, and I just read it for you, that the overall financial health, of the defaulter, should be considered while admitting a case. So the Supreme Court is saying a default, merely gives a creditor a right, to apply, but the educating authority, the NCLT, they have to apply their mind. Now, this has given a huge discretion to NCLT judges. So now the normal process of admitting a case is 15 days. Now a lot of delays are happening because now judges are going into the, the entire, how the default happens. They are getting into those, things. So, in that, the timeline of 180 days, if you see, I mean, they are not being met. So today, average time, if you see for any resolution, it's like 9 months to 10 months, whereas it should be 6 months. You know, so that's why we look at this story, the entire mess, at the bankruptcy.
Sure. So, Anand, what measures or steps do you believe should be now taken to address and correct these flaws that exist?
So government is likely to take up some amendment in the monsoon session. But I'll just briefly point out four or five points. One is about the pre-pack. Post COVID, the government came out with pre-pack for the MSME. That came, the legislation came via amendment. Now this people are suggesting it should be extended to large corporate from MSME, because today we have seen only three companies applying for a pre-pack. So there's absolutely no interest in pre-packs. So it should be extended to large corporate. And second, even the court should create some kind of a deterrent, because a lot of litigations are happening because of frivolous complaints. Even the promoter are using proxies to challenge many of the thing. So we need some kind of a deterrent from NCLT courts. Other is about the operational creditor. Again, a lot of delays are happening because of operational creditor also approaching court and their litigation, because in a IBC, operational creditors are like unsecured creditors, so they don't get much in IBC resolution. So there's a suggestion that some money should be kept, for operational creditor. So let's see if something comes out in the amendments. And secondly, it's about the real estate insolvency also. Currently what happens, if a real estate company defaults, the entire, all the projects of that company, goes into liquidation. So there's a demand for, this project-wise, insolvency, in the real estate segment. And finally, I will say even making the the COC, the committee of creditor, where we have all the bankers or the financial creditor, we have to make COC more effective. There should be something should come out, some kind of a code of conduct for COC.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Point well taken. So lots to definitely understand when it comes to the current flaws and the steps that should be taken going forward to make this system more efficient. But let me come to Krishna now, and very interesting story from Krishna this time around. Something that could be Mukesh Ambani's next big bet. Reliance Life Sciences seems like it is now graduating from making just life saving drugs to now even going to address rare genetic diseases, address medical needs right there as well. So Krishna, first up, Reliance Life Sciences, what is the uniqueness of the business model, and what are the things that are happening in this space right now?
Thank you, Sakshi. At the outset, this is not your classic pharma company. I mean, you can't go into a chemist shop
Yeah.
and ask for Reliance Life Sciences products. So let's be clear about that. This is biotechnology, which by itself, within the ambit of pharma, is a smaller business. You find the products being put to best use in areas like hospitals. Now, I just would want to bring out a few points which I think are interesting. This is classic Mukesh Ambani classic Reliance approach, meaning they will have a long-term approach, they will bring scale to a table, and they will disrupt. So when I speak of long-term approach, they've been in the business for 20 years. There's a closely held company. Not very much is known about it. Works very quietly. Did a lot of work during COVID. In terms of numbers, reasonably large, 2,500 crores, which may seem like a pittance compared to how much other pharma companies make. But equally, you're speaking of areas like return to equity being in the mid 40s, which is not usual for a normal pharma company, which means money is spent very smartly, not a huge amount of debt. The other thing is scale. And when we spoke to the CEO, Mr. Subramanian, the president rather, and he said something interesting because he works very closely with Mr. Mukesh Ambani. And I believe he said at the beginning, saying, if you need to get scale, you must get into manufacturing. And that's the way to run the business. So if you go back and look at what they've done at Jamnagar, for example, or Hazira, for example, the whole thing of manufacturing, the ability to think big comes to fore immediately. Even in a sector like telecom, which is devoid of manufacturing, or sector like retail, which is devoid of manufacturing, you just see the number of stores they have, the number of connections they have, the number of sales. So they will not think small. But we also have to look at it from perspective of the business overall. If you look at biopharmaceuticals, for example, an area within biotechnology, the complete market in India is barely $300 million. Very small number, but 2,500 crores, but growing at 25% per annum. So whereas when you speak of the pharmaceutical industry being kind of much larger and stuff like that, this is where the growth opportunity is. Finally, when you speak of disruption, they spoke of gene therapy, for example, running to about $4 to $6 million in the US. The management of Reliance Life Sciences has made it absolutely clear to us they will look for a way to break the price dichotomy. So that's the most interesting. So, like I said, the comfortable reminder that Reliance should come in, disrupt the existing status quo, seems like a clear takeaway. The big story there is a plant that's coming up in Nashik. They do have a manufacturing plant in Navi Mumbai. It's a place called Ravale here. But the big story is in Nashik. It's a place called Dindori, which is about
Yeah, let me, in fact, Krishna, show to all our viewers the center spread of your story as well. Very, very interesting. This is the plan that you're talking about, right? The next frontier. So, I mean, like, such a big plan. You've already had insights from here as well.
Yeah, yeah, it is. Seeing is believing because what you really have right now is lots of mud, lots of cement, lots of dust on your shoes. But let me tell you, given the kind of deadlines they work under, the same plant, same time next year, the first phase will be ready. So you're speaking of end to end. So be it plasma proteins, be it biosimilars, they'll have the entire mix running out of Nashik now. This is large. It's about 160 acres, size of what? Nice college or nice business school campus to that. So we're not speaking of small property. So work is taking place 24 hours a day. And so the point is the ability to come in, look at a different segment within pharma. They will not play the game that a Lupin or a Natco. They will compete with these people in some other areas like small molecule, like oncology, for example, or API, for example. But the fundamental story being biotechnology will mean they're going to be looking at, which means they're going to be looking at completely new territory, if I may say so.
Absolutely, very, very exciting to note as to what comes up. Of course, a year later, we will have something to really talk about in reality, on ground. So we will get back to this story, very, very soon again. But let's wrap up this edition for now. Many thanks, Prerna. Many thanks, Anand and Krishna, all of you, for sharing all these wonderful insights with all our viewers. And here's urging all our viewers to please go out there and grab your copies. A very, very insightful edition right there, from auto to banking to even stock market experts. You also have Rahul Kamal, who's interviewed Ruchir Sharma, the founder of breakout capital right there to find out more about the economy, AI, and even PLI schemes. So lots to take in right there. So urging all our viewers to definitely go and grab their copies right there. And with that, we wrap up this edition. Many thanks for tuning in, but do stay tuned on to Business Today TV for a whole lot more action that's coming up right up on your screens.